They said humanity would break in the first war, that the moment our fragile species faced the steel of the galaxy, we would bend, we would yield, we would vanish. The empires that ruled the stars for 1,000 years counted on fear to do what their fleets could not. They thought Earth was a minor world, a primitive outpost that had stumbled into the interstellar age by accident. They did not understand what kind of creatures they had just awakened. When the first Imperial cruiser appeared in Earth's orbit, casting its shadow over our satellites and choking communications with interference, people on the ground thought it was the end. Entire cities froze, governments panicked, and military scrambled jets that could do nothing against a vessel the size of a mountain. The Imperial message was simple: surrender your world, supply soldiers for our wars, and kneel to the throne of the Galactic Empire. Resistance would mean annihilation. But Earth did not kneel. In the chaos of fear, humanity remembered something old, older than empires, older than the stars. We remembered that our history was one of survival against impossible odds. From predators stronger than us, to winters harsher than steel, to wars that should have ended us long before we ever looked up. We remembered that no one ever gave us a place on this planet. We fought for it, tooth and nail, and we would fight for our place among the stars the same way. The first act of defiance was small. A handful of satellites, repurposed into weapons, flung themselves like stones against the hull of the Imperial ship. Useless, they said. Nothing but sparks. But those sparks told the galaxy something they had not expected. Humanity would not bow quietly. The Empire answered with fire. A single strike from their orbital cannon erased a naval base on the Pacific coast. Thousands died in an instant. The sky burned red with falling debris, and the oceans boiled with steam. But instead of despair, rage spread. Rage that carried across nations that had hated each other yesterday, but now stood together. For the first time, there was no America, no China, no Russia, no Europe. There was only Earth. Underground bunkers lit up. Old blueprints were dusted off. Secret laboratories opened their vaults. Humanity had always prepared for wars against itself. Now, all of that was turned outward. The first resistance fleet was built not in sleek orbital yards, but in hidden shipyards carved into mountains, in factories that once made cars and tanks, in workshops where welders and mechanics worked day and night without sleep. And when the second Imperial ship came to demand submission, it found something waiting. A human vessel, ugly, crude, barely more than engines strapped to armor plating. But when it fired, when it rammed itself into the Imperial cruiser's belly and detonated a warhead built from stolen nuclear stockpiles, the galaxy heard the impossible. The Empire had lost a ship. That was the day the galaxy learned the first rule of humanity. We never fight fair. For centuries, the Empire had fought wars by ritual, fleets arrayed in elegant patterns, duels of strategy played out like games. Humanity brought chaos. We hacked their communications. We poisoned their food supplies. We infiltrated their databases with viruses written by teenagers in basements. We strapped explosives to cargo ships and rammed them into the heart of their armadas. We used every trick, every deception, every scrap of ingenuity we had learned in 10,000 years of fighting ourselves. And slowly, impossibly, the unthinkable happened. The Empire began to bleed. The aliens called us monsters. They whispered that Earth raised demons, not people, that we fought with no honor, no restraint, no rules. They were right, because honor is a luxury of the victorious, and survival is all that mattered to us. But it wasn't just war. Humanity's true weapon was stranger still. Where the Empire enslaved conquered worlds, humanity offered something else: freedom, the right to stand as equals. And as the Empire's grip weakened, species that had known nothing but change began to look to Earth not as rebels, but as saviors. They had seen humans fight, not only for themselves, but for those who could not fight. They had seen soldiers die to free alien children from labor camps. Engineers share technology without asking for tribute. Doctors treat the wounded of a dozen species without hesitation. That was when the galaxy began to whisper a different word for us. Not monsters, not rebels, but liberators. The war was far from won. The Empire had millions of ships, endless resources, and centuries of experience. We had desperation, rage, and something they could not quantify: the human will to never accept chains. Every battle was a wound, every victory bought with blood, every defeat a reminder that extinction hovered near. But with each strike, with each act of defiance, we lit sparks across the stars. And soon, even the Empire would have to admit it. They had awakened a species that did not know how to die quietly. The battle for the Vega system was where everything changed. Vega was nothing special, a mining outpost with little strategic value. But for us, it was everything. It was the first human colony outside the Sol system, a fragile settlement of a few thousand families who had dared to leave Earth behind. When the Empire moved to crush it, humanity answered with everything we had. The fleets that gathered at Vega were mismatched, a patchwork of designs. Some ships were carved from asteroids, others were rebuilt freighters. A few were stolen from the Empire itself. They didn't match, they didn't shine, but they were ours. And waiting on the other side was an armada 3 times our size, sleek and perfect, gleaming with imperial pride. The Empire expected us to scatter. Instead, we charged. The battle lasted 3 days. 3 days of fire across the stars. 3 days of screams in every language. 3 days of desperate maneuvers that bent the laws of physics and sanity. Ships rammed each other at point-blank range. Fighters danced between the hulks of burning cruisers. Soldiers boarded enemy vessels with nothing but rifles and fury. And when the smoke cleared, when the wreckage drifted like a new asteroid belt around Vega, the impossible had happened again. The human fleet still stood, bloodied, broken, but unbowed. Vega lived. That was when the galaxy realized the Empire could be defeated. Word spread faster than Imperial censors could silence it. Worlds that had submitted began to rebel. Species that had hidden in fear began to rise. And everywhere they rose, they looked for the same flag, the blue and green of Earth. The Empire doubled its efforts. Fleets descended on Earth itself. They tried to scorch us, to burn our cities, to poison our oceans. But humanity had already learned how to fight from the shadows. They destroyed our satellites, and we built new ones in caves. They shattered our fleets, and we rebuilt them from their own wreckage. They thought they could starve us, but we had learned long ago how to survive famine and drought. The more they pressed, the harder we became. And as humanity spread across the stars, something terrifying for the Empire became clear. We were changing. The crucible of war was forging us into something new. Soldiers born on Mars fought alongside colonists from Europa and miners from Titan. Children raised under alien skies grew up speaking not of nations, but of humanity as a whole. We were no longer a world. We were a people of the stars.